Good morning, good people. It's your man Cam. I just wanted to do a part two, so to speak, about the three ETFs that I recently had a discussion on, which are AIPI, JEPQ, and SPYI. Excuse me, in which I stated on my first recording that I was going to kind of go into depth about the distributions that each one has paid since their inceptions into the market, in which I failed to do so. So I want to do that now and possibly go into a little bit more information. But I want to start with my favorite, which is AIPI, which is going to have the shortest history, so to speak. It hasn't been out even a year yet. So it's not going to have as many distributions as JEPQ and or as SPYI has had. But if we look here, let's scroll down. So these are the distributions for AIPI, which is roughly, or not even roughly, which is exactly, it looks like 11 distributions that they've paid out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually 10 that have been paid out. But as we can see here, the distributions have been in decline, so to speak. So we look here, the first distribution that was paid out was $1.47, then $1.45, then it went back up to $1.47, then to $1.46, then it went up to its highest distribution amount, which was $1.51, then $1.48. But as of this year, the highest distribution it's had is $1.44. And then, like I said, just last month, which was the lowest distribution AIPI has paid out, which was $1.10. Still, and based off of the share price amount, when these distributions were paid out, though, it still does equate to roughly about 34 to 35%. So they're still paying out that 34-35% distribution yield, even though the distribution amounts are less. But we have to also factor in the fact that the stock has gone down, so the stock price has been less as well. And so personally, I still am satisfied with these distributions. And I said time and time again that AIPI is going to go back up. And so the distributions are more than likely going to follow suit and go back up as well. But let's go over to the next one, which is SPYI, which out of the three, I really do like this one. AIPI is only my favorite just because it pays out and pays well. But SPYI, I like it just because of how stable it is. In which on AIPI, we didn't see here the dividend yield metrics or the grade and or the growth rate. But as you can see on SPYI, the yield has got an A+, which, you know, that 13% is excellent. I think it was 13 or 12%, which is extremely good. But what I want to show you, and I spoke about in my other video, is that it doesn't have a high growth rate because the distribution does not vary. Okay. And that's what makes this a stable and or a very reliable ETF when you're in retirement, or even just investing in a period when you want to have an idea of what you're going to be paid out every month, or with the amount of shares you may have. But as you can see, 2 years of dividend growth according to Seeking Alpha, and 2 years of dividend payments consecutively. So if we look here, we can go all the way back down to 2022, and that's November. Excuse me, November of 2022 is when SPYI started paying out its distributions. And you can see here 48 cents, 46 cents, 47, 46, 47, 47, 46, 48. So as you can see, it's very consistent in the amount of distributions it pays out. At one point, the highest distribution I see here is 55 cents. And then as we go into this year, it started off at 51 cents. And then it had a recent distribution of 46 cents, which is going to be the lowest amount. Well, no, it had 46. Okay. in the first year, a couple of 46 cents payments, and then looks like a 46 cents payment in 2023. So it's not out of the ordinary, so to speak, for this ETF to pay 46 cents per share. But once again, it's consistent in a sense. You know, it doesn't vary as much. And as well, if you factor that it doesn't pay out as high of a distribution as AIPI as well, that may play a factor. But it's just consistent when you really look at the, like I said, the charts and the numbers and everything. It's just almost even across the board. Let's go look at the third one, which I like as well. I wouldn't be doing videos on these three ETFs if I didn't like them, which is going to be JEPQ. And so with JEPQ's dividend yield also has an A+, and it has a B+ as far as the growth rate of it, which is really good. But let's look at the history on JEPQ. So with JEPQ, it started in 2022 as well, but it started in June, so 3 months earlier than SPYI. But as we can see here, it paid out 37 cents, 33 cents, 40 cents, 54, 37, 68. So it has that a higher degree of variation in opposed to what SPYI has. Because if you look, okay, 33 cents here 1 month and then 68 cents another month, we're talking about a 35 cents difference, in which that makes a big difference. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that higher distribution whatsoever. But if you're trying to gauge how much you're going to get paid each month and base your bills and things off of that, and you only have, let's say, 2,000 shares, and opposed to if someone has 10,000 shares, that 30 cents difference may not make a difference in them paying their bills. But if you only have 2,000 shares, then that may play a factor in whether or not you're going to be able to pay a bill that month, you know. But like I say, it has a higher degree of variation compared to SPYI, and so does AIPI. And if we go all the way up to this year, the lowest distribution JEPQ has had this year was 45 cents. And then the most recent one was 59 cents, almost 60 cents, which is about a 15 cents difference is what we're looking at there. And so it has that variation, but at the same time, it's still reliable. You get what I'm saying? It's not going to miss. None of them are not going to pay out some distribution because that's what they're designed to do. It's not like a stock where it could stop paying out dividends because of whatever reason. These are designed to pay out some money every month. And that's another reason why ETFs are so popular and why it may be better to invest in an ETF than just an individual stock or individual stocks when you're looking towards distributions, and opposed to, you know, stock growth. That's one thing. But if you're going to live off of payouts, dividends or distributions, then ETFs are going to be the route to go. But I want to, like I said, just discuss and kind of go over the history of the payouts that each one of these ETFs have had. But also what I would like to do is kind of show you the amount of money it's going to take invested into each one of these ETFs to, let's say, make $1,000 or more per year. Per month. Or better yet, I'm just going to say, let's invest $1,000 into each one of these ETFs. Let's do that instead. And then just see the difference in how much a $100,000 investment is going to make between the three. So we're going to start first with my favorite, which is AIPI. And as you know, in my last video, it's roughly, it paid out about $14 per share, and that varies. So here on the NASDAQ, it says that it paid out about $13.22 per share. Okay, so let's go here, and we're going to say trade by, and we're going to, let's see, 100,000. Let's see how many that's going to take. 3, so 2, 5. So we're just going to, that's roughly 100,000. So let's say 2,500 shares of AIPI. So we're going to take that 2,500 shares of AIPI, and we're going to multiply that by $13.22. That's going to give us $33,050 a year from AIPI, as long as AIPI stays consistent with paying out that 34% dividend yield, in which, if you look at $100,000, paying out $33,000 is a 33% dividend yield, but it's still close to that 34%. So we say 34%. Okay, and which is, it could be easily done, but I just want to do it this way to add a little more drama or whatever have you to the situation. So let's go to SPYI next, and let's say let's see how many 200. We're going to go 200 and so we'll say 2,220 shares, or 2,200 shares of SPYI. So 2,200 shares of SPYI. And if I remember correctly, it paid out, let's see here, SPYI dividend yield. It paid out $6.14 per share. So that's going to be significantly less in a sense, but $6.14, in which we're talking about $13,508 a month, which is over $1,000 a month in distributions. But if you look, we're talking about $20,000 less than what AIPI pays out. And we're going to do the same for my other favorite, so to speak, ETF, which is going to be JEPQ, in which it paid out $5.93 per share. So we're going to say $5.93 per share. We're going to go here to JEPQ, and we're going to see how many shares that's going to take. Let's just say with JEPQ, 2,000 shares of JEPQ. So we got 2,000 shares, $5.93 times 2,000 shares, which is close to $1,000 a month, and we're talking about $11,860. So you see the difference in what type of distributions one would make with $100,000 invested into each one of these ETFs. Now, let's say if you had that kind of money, or had that kind of money, and you invested it into AIPI, and you were able to take those distributions that you're making from AIPI, because you don't need them to live off of right now, and then turn around and reinvest those distributions into, let's say, an SPYI, then in a matter of, 3 years, you got another $100,000 or more invested in the SPY. Actually more when you start thinking about your dividends or whatever have you too, that you'll be getting from SPYI. But then at that point, let's just say now you've, in a sense, let's just say doubled the shares of SPYI that you have, which you started off with 2,200. So now let's just say we're going to more than double. It's going to say 4,500 shares of now you have of SPYI, and it was $6.43 per share. Now you're making $28,000 a year in distributions from SPYI. So there's ways to take, let's say that those distributions from AIPI, if you just don't feel completely trusting in the process of AIPI, but you feel like SPYI is the more stable ETF, then just take those distributions and put them in the SPYI. And eventually you'll be able to build SPYI, especially, let's say, over a matter of 10 years, you will be making a considerable amount of money from an SPYI if you were to just let the dividends that you are making reinvest back into SPYI, plus taking the distributions that you're getting from AIPI and putting those into SPYI, and then you'll be making enough money in a matter of 10 years to be able to sit back and just count your money and not have to worry about any type of issues in a matter of 10 years. But even in a matter of, let's just say, 5 years, if you were to do that, and let's see, we went from, so let's say 2,200 We're just going to do 2,200 times 5, even though it was a little bit more, and you'll probably end up with a little bit more shares in that. But let's just say 2,200 times 5 plus your initial 2,200 shares. And so in a matter of 5 years, you have at least 13,000 shares times 6.43. So in 5 years, we're talking about retiring for some people at $84,000 a year. $84,000 is more money than what majority of the people in the United States make working every other day or every day. But this is not including the actual reinvesting of your prior distributions. So it would more than likely be well over $100,000 that you would be making in distributions in a matter of 5 years, if you were able to have $100,000 invested in the SPYI, $100,000 invested in the AIPI, and taking the AIPI distributions and putting those into SPYI along with the reinvesting of the distributions from SPYI. And you would be able to have, like I say, enough money to retire off of in a matter of 5 years. But that takes $200,000 as well to be able to do so, to where a majority of us don't even have 20,000, let alone 200,000. But I just want to come in and make a second video, kind of elaborate and talk about some other ideas and things related to these 3 ETFs. I didn't mention JEPQ as much, but it's just as good as an ETF. But when it comes down to the 3, I lean most definitely heavy or harder on AIPI, and SPYI is running a close second to AIPI in my book, in which who knows what may happen in the future. You know, I may be able to invest $200,000 or more into SPYI, but I just feel like right now it's just proven to have been the more stable ETF out of the 3. SPYI has, but AIPI is going to most definitely pay you the most in distributions every year. And so I just want to, like I say, go into a little bit more detail. I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of your weekend and a great week. And let's make some money together. And it's your man Cam, Investing with Cam.